A surprisingly crucial skill for product owners, learning how to say no.
Okay, let's be real. No isn't exactly the first word that comes to mind when you think effective product owner.
Right.
But hear me out, because no isn't about being difficult. It's about being a guardian of your product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember Dijon's story about that music app?
Mm-hmm.
They kept saying yes to every feature request, just trying to please everyone.
Right, right.
And the result, it became this bloated monster of an app. Took forever to load.
Oh, I know the type.
Users got frustrated, and they ended up just abandoning it.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of saying yes too often.
Ouch. Yeah, I'm getting flashbacks to a few projects like that. That story really highlights why mastering the power of no is so essential, especially if you want to be a highly effective product owner. It's about strategically pushing back to protect the product's vision and deliver real value to the user.
It's like that old saying,
Yeah.
trying to please everyone pleases no one, and in this case, it can even harm your product and your users in the long run.
Totally. So we've established that no can be a good thing, even a strategic superpower. But when do you actually use this superpower? I mean, it can't be a free-for-all no fest, right?
You're right. It's all about choosing your battles wisely.
Yeah, the guidelines for saying no to stakeholders had some seriously practical advice.
Yeah.
It talked about those red flag situations where no should be like your go-to response. Like, remember those times when you get hit with a request that completely derails the roadmap, throws everything into chaos?
Or when a stakeholder's request is exciting, but just not technically feasible given your current resources and constraints. The article brilliantly highlights those scenarios where pushing back is often the best move.
And you know what's really interesting?
What's that?
The situations the article talks about, they're not random, are they?
Right.
Like, if we think back to modules 2 and 3 of your user requirements course,
Yeah.
it all comes back to understanding your users inside and out.
Absolutely. Those modules were all about deep diving into user needs, getting into their heads, and really grasping what makes them tick.
Right.
And you know what? That deep understanding becomes your secret weapon.
Okay.
Because when you truly get your users, you can confidently say no to anything that doesn't serve them, right?
Because when you truly get your users,
Yeah.
you can confidently say no to anything that doesn't serve them.
Exactly. It's
Ouch.
about becoming an advocate for the user and saying, look, this request, while it might seem interesting, doesn't actually align with what our users truly need, and here's why.
So it's like having this solid foundation that lets you push back against stakeholder pressure even when it's tough.
Precisely. And this is where things get even more interesting. Remember how the article provided those 6 guidelines for saying no with grace? It's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Right. It reminds me of Module 1 of your course, which I know we haven't gotten to yet, but it heavily emphasizes clear communication and building those strong stakeholder relationships. Those skills are just as crucial when you're saying no as when you're gathering requirements or presenting a new feature idea. It's all connected. It really does all circle back around, doesn't it? Building those relationships, understanding user needs, and mastering the art of communication, especially when you're delivering a no. I mean, who knew there was so much nuance to saying no?
And that's what makes these sources so valuable. They don't just throw a no at you and walk away. They give you a toolkit for navigating those tricky conversations. Remember those 6 guidelines? They really stuck with me. Being clear, expressing appreciation, giving a concise reason, offering alternatives, all while maintaining that empathetic tone.
Right, like that example about a stakeholder who's like gung-ho about a feature,
Oh, yeah.
but then it throws off the entire sprint goal.
Right, yeah.
Instead of a flat-out no way. You acknowledge their idea, their excitement even,
Right.
but then explain why it's a no for right now.
Yeah.
It feels less like rejection and more like you're having like a collaborative discussion, right?
Exactly. And that takes us to what I think is a brilliant point in the article. Turning a no into a future opportunity. Instead of a dead end, it becomes a conversation about finding alternative solutions.
Okay.
Maybe a smaller first step,
Right.
a different approach, or even just pushing it to a later stage on the roadmap.
That reminds me of Dejan's advice in Module 6 about managing scope creep. He said something like, every time you say yes, you're potentially saying no to something else that matters more.
Right.
It's about prioritizing ruthlessly, even if it means disappointing someone in the short term.
And that's where those techniques from Module 6 come into play.
Right.
Mastering those strategies lets you confidently offer alternatives without sacrificing the product's overall vision or derailing the project entirely.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
You know, it strikes me that both sources while focusing on the how of saying no really highlight the importance of the when.
That's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
It's not about saying no to everything just for the sake of it. It's about understanding when that no is essential
Yeah.
for the greater good of the product, the users, and ultimately your success as a product owner.
So as a final thought for you, dear listener, as you navigate the world of stakeholders and requests, remember this. Every time you face one of those should we or shouldn't we moments, take a breath and ask yourself, is this truly serving the product's vision and our users' needs, or is it a distraction from what truly matters? That reflection, combined with the practical strategies we've unpacked today, will guide you toward becoming an exceptional strategic product owner